Hi there. I'm Catherine Miller. I'm the founder of the Miller Law Group, and I'm a director at the Center for Understanding and Conflict. And in honor of Mediation Week, which is October 18th, 2020, through the end of the week, I'm conducting a series of interviews with various mediators in fields around the possible range of places where mediation can be helpful on mediation and what it is and how it can be helpful. And today, my guest is Catherine Connor. She's also a director at the Center for Understanding in Conflict, and she is a mediator, collaborative lawyer, and teacher based in California. Welcome, Catherine. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, what I thought was a great way to start this is for people who might not really understand what mediation is, if we could just talk, if you would talk a little bit about what is mediation just for starters.
So mediation is the opportunity for people to have a conversation with each other about a conflict. And so the mediator's role is really to help them have that conversation with each other directly about what's important to them, what is the information they need about the conflict to be in a position to make a decision, and then to look at what are the possibilities and talk through it and hopefully get to the point of reaching an agreement.
And why does mediation work when people just don't find the possibility of working it out on their own? Because I think that people have two different misunderstandings kind of on either end of the spectrum about mediation. One is that the mediator is going to decide. Does the mediator decide?
Absolutely not. The mediator does not have any decision-making authority. It's the parties to the conflict that are going to make the decision. It's a voluntary process, and people get to say yes or no at the end.
And it's a yes or no to their own ideas. Well, I guess that really depends on the kind of mediation you're in, right?
Yes, yes.
So then on the other end of the spectrum, I think people have the misunderstanding about mediation that it's no different than just talking amongst themselves. Mm-hmm. And so why is it that mediation is different than the same old argument these people in conflict have had over and over and over again?
So having the mediator there is someone who can help you, particularly with any dynamics that may have happened, and provide a structure for having that conversation. So often the reason we're stuck in a conflict is because we're having emotional reactions, we're getting into dynamic issues, we're defensive, we're reacting to the other person. And so the mediator can help to change that dynamic. And also often people get stuck because there's something that they don't know and maybe they're reluctant to talk about, or they haven't gotten the information from the other person. They just feel stuck. And having someone that they can talk to about that, who's neutral and doesn't have skin in the game, often breaks that logjam about what do we need to know about each other, about each other's views, about the situation itself to come up with the best possible solution. Often one of those items is missing.
Yeah, in my experience, there is something, if I dare say, magical about the neutrality. Is that your experience?
Yes, yes. There's something about, it's so interesting because often the tool we use in mediation is when we listen to someone as the mediator, then we try and do what's called a loop of understanding. We try and describe back to them what we've heard them say to make sure we really get it. But the other person is listening, but they're hearing it from me instead of from the party they're in conflict with that maybe they've stopped listening to, but hearing it from me, they hear it in a different way. And that, I think, is part of the magic.
Yeah, and it's also my experience, and I think it's yours as well from what I'm hearing, is that with that extra person in the room, with that different perspective, even if they're using the same words or saying the same ideas, that it changes the dynamic. They're really stuck, the conflict trap. And somehow that little shift is a big shift, and people somehow see the problem in a different way. And in seeing it in a different way, solutions that previously seemed elusive become apparent.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that description. I think there's also something else going on, which is when the mediator understands someone and they feel like that someone else really gets them, they don't have to hold on so tightly to their own view. When I feel like no one understands me, I'm just going to keep repeating it because this person that I'm in conflict with just doesn't get it. So I have to just keep holding on and repeating. But when the mediator now has understood them, they're able to relax, and they're actually able to listen to the other person in a different way where they weren't able to listen before because they didn't feel understood.
Yeah, I think those are wise words. So, Catherine Connor, if people are interested in learning more about you or your practice or your firm, how can they get in touch with you?
They can write me at connor@clrob.com, and that's Connor with an ER, not an OR, which is a common mistake people make. Or they can write me at the center at catherineconnor@understandingandconflict.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Catherine. It was great.